with this new big beautiful bill, they given, I think, DHS or immigration, like
DHS,
more, more money than the FBI and the CIA combined.
Yep. Now let's talk about that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They are using law enforcement with military gear, AR-15s. They're covering their faces. They have no identifying markers of who they are. And they're taking people into custody for what? For a civil violation. That's the thing. Like, MAGA is trying to say when people come over to this country, they already broke the law. And so now they're criminals. And it's like, hey, everybody, listen up. Those people are not criminals. It's a civil violation. In our law, it's a civil violation. So I would like to reverse that to them. So if you go speeding, MAGA, or if you're parking illegally, that's a civil violation. So should I start calling you a criminal because you technically broke the law?
I didn't know that. So there's a difference between a civil violation and a criminal violation.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't think people know that. So civil violation is very like illegal parking or something like that. Absolutely. Immigration. Oh, interesting.
Immigration is the same thing. It's a civil violation.
Oh.
So Democratic Party, right? Why aren't they yelling at the top of the roof to say, hey, Mr. President, stop labeling everybody as a criminal?
Right. Why are they not doing that?
Exactly. This is where they've lost their voice. But this is where I've had many conversations with members of Congress because we came up with a bill called Building America Stronger, which is to secure the workforce in the construction industry, to give them a work visa.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for some of them, I was getting a little frustrated. This was a couple months ago, before we ever published this bill. We're feeling on Democrats and Republicans to see what the temperature was for a solution on immigration. And Democrats, for the majority, would say, yes, we believe in immigration reform and, we want all these things to be done. But George, just understand, we have no power. We have no power. There's nothing we can do. They have the majority of the Senate. They have the majority of the House. And that was a very, consistent message. Now that I came up with this policy, presented it to members of Congress, we think it's going to get sponsored both in the House and the Senate, bipartisan support. But when I sold this to Democrats, I said, hey, you guys need to find your voice and you need to get behind a bill. You need to show that you're coming up with a policy. I said, this yelling back and forth doesn't help anybody. You're not going to, win the midterm election. You need to come up with a solution. And if they don't want to follow you, at least get on every single major news and put a bill on the floor. If they don't allow you to put it, keep yelling at the top of your lungs saying, we have a solution. This is what we want to pass forward. Like, get in front of it. Show the American people you care about immigration. Latinos elected this Congress and this president. If you want that vote, you got to prove that you're fighting for us.
True. And why do you think they elected Donald Trump over Vice President Kamala Harris? Like at the pew, because I've been seeing stuff on social media, like what is and it seems to be like a split within the Latino community about and it's nasty. And I'm trying to figure out but I'm not Latino. So I'm asking you, what's going on?
Reasons. Yeah, there's several reasons. One is that within our community, we struggle with colorism.
Really?
Absolutely. Between white skin, dark skin. I mean, I remember growing up and my mom telling me I'm not scrubbing hard enough because I'm getting too dark. And it's a real thing. Racism in Latin America shows up very different. Like the natives to the land are very dark and they typically are living in poverty. And so people don't want to be associated with having dark skin. And so colorism is a problem in our community. So what do we attract to, right? We attract to that sort of that white supremacy. And so for those that have white skin are often viewed as having more opportunity.
Is that true?
It is true. I mean, it is true. I mean, we struggle with colorism in our community. So when you see a white president speaking with such power, even though it's some of the things that he says is absolutely ridiculous, but it's very similar to our politics in Latin America. And so when you look at that, people are trying to disassociate themselves. They want to say, I'm part of the in class. I'm not part of the lower class. Like,
even if it hurts you?
Absolutely. Right? Because you have to understand, like, so for Latinos, not everybody, like for me, I was born here. You know, I'm second generation. But looking down the line, people right now are third, fourth, you know, fifth generation. For many Latinos, they don't even know how to speak Spanish.
What?
They can't associate. Oh yeah, happens all the time.
I could not imagine. Are you serious? But that's the beauty, though, I love about the Latino community. It's like you're so diverse. You could have in one family, you could have someone who's as light and fair as, you know, like a Swedish person, and you can have someone who's as chocolate and beautiful as someone from, you know, I can't even say from Africa because you have South African, but you know, the beautiful chocolate skin. And I'm like, that is so, to me, just amazing.
Right. So,
you know, and going to a wedding or something, it's so you can't even pick the number of shades that you see. That's the beauty within the Latino community. It
is, but again, we do struggle with that colorism because it's all about social status. And so, you know, that's the reason why for many Latino communities, they don't like to get on any sort of government assistance. It's a big no-no. You know, we don't like to get onto food stamps or welfare. They will fight and struggle. That's why a lot of people say, you know what, Hispanics are very hardworking people.
That's true.
And I will tell you, from my experience in social services, it was very difficult to give them benefits because they didn't want it. And so when we look at that, so for Hispanics and why they voted more for, we started seeing a rise and more in the conservative movement. Colorism plays a part of that. That social class of saying that, hey, I'm an American, you know, I believe in America, and they sort of have forgotten where their parents came from, their grandparents came from, or even from themselves. They weren't even born here, but they fought so hard to get here that now it's like, I'm an American.
So how do you reconcile within the Latino community, like the Spaniards versus like the European Spaniards versus, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, versus Puerto Ricans, which are American citizens, versus people from El Salvador, Mexico, Ecuador? Like, how do you reconcile that within the community?
Well, honestly, that's the reason why we're so divided. Because within the Hispanic community, we have so many different dialects of Spanish. Not everybody speaks Spanish, first of all. Like in Argentina, they don't speak Spanish. Or in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. And so that's where it's we can be divided because there are certain labels that are put on us as whether we're Hispanic, whether we're Latino, whether we're Tejano or we're Puerto Rican. You know, when we think about America, most people don't realize that Puerto Ricans are Americans.
Yeah, Puerto Rican. People don't know that.
People don't know that.
You go to New York, it's very like Puerto Ricans and Black Americans in New York kind of grow up together. And it's not uncommon for them to married and you see their children and stuff. So it's not you know, especially in New York, you know, so I guess, wow, the fact that people don't know that is really odd to me. But, you know, there's a lot people don't know. So do you think it's more difficult for the Latino community to kind of connect with each other versus Black Americans? Because, you know, Black folks, you put something now, it's like, no more Target, and we're not doing no more, you know?
Absolutely. We tend to tear each other down. And, you know, when we think about also to like immigration, why we're so split as a community on immigration is because they don't understand there's a difference between wanting border security and getting criminals out and then deportation. So I think for a lot of people that are conservative, that are Latinos, they were like, hey, yes, we believe in border security, but they thought the president was going to bring some sort of resolution to deportation. They're just like, oh, what he's saying is just rhetoric. That's just the way he is. We're going to get him in power and it's all going to be fine. Now there's a lot of people with buyer's remorse because a lot of those people that supported him have now been deported, or their family members have been deported.
That's so tragic to me because you can't undo. So, okay, so that's a good question. Why did not, because, we've been in this, Black Americans have been in this situation with the US for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And why did the Latino community not listen to Black Americans? Because I know there's some strife and some frustration there within the groups, but why didn't they, we were like, we are telling you what he's going to do. Listen to Black Americans because we've been through this for so long,
Yeah.
So what happened in that situation where they chose to believe Trump versus believe in Black Americans?
Well, don't take it personal. We don't even trust each other within our own community. So we're not going to necessarily trust somebody else. And
gotcha.
So
makes sense.
But I want you to think about this. Like I live in white suburbia here, but we have Mexican restaurants. And I will tell you that just 5 minutes from here, there's a Taco Bell on one corner. There is a Mexican restaurant right across the street. Right next to it, adjacent to it, on the same plaza, is another Mexican restaurant. Across the street from that, on the north side, is another Mexican restaurant.
Right.
Half a block down, there's another Mexican restaurant. So why do we do that? Other communities don't do that. For instance, the Arab community, I'm very close with the Arab community here. They work very closely together, and they're, entrepreneurs, and they help each other open up businesses. They will sit down and have community meetings and say, hey, George, you would like to open up a restaurant? That's great. We don't want you to open it up in this part because guess what? We already have that type of cuisine right here. What's better is actually in this block area where there is nothing. And guess what? We can help you establish yourself there. We'll all show up for your grand opening, and we'll continue to support. That is strategically sound, right? And that's the reason why there's such great entrepreneurs. In our community, we don't do that. If I open up a taco shop here, guess what? My competition is going to open one up right next door to it, and then adjacent to it, and sort of go down the line. I kid you not. There's like 6 Mexican restaurants that I can throw a rock and hit.
What? Wow. Well, I'm glad you're sharing that because that does make that makes a lot of sense, because I was just in Glen Burnie and I was like, why are there so many like 5 on the same block? And I was like, that's strange, but that's true. And I have a lot of friends who are South Asian and Indian, and they are very supportive and very community based too, as well. So yeah, I could see that.